Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
He haven't got it! He's on the outside line, though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now, though, for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back once more to the Virtual World Sports Cup Historic 1964 Series. I'm James Parker, going to be joined in the booth by Bradley Dalton, and I've got our wonderful Mr. Paul Glover in the background. Well, guys, it has come. The time has come. We are at the 100th race of CMS. 100 races. That is absolutely amazing here as well. Let's take a quick look at the calendar this evening as well. The calendar itself, where you can see we are at Goodwood this evening for 250 kilometers. I've got it around about 65 laps, give or take some quick maths. Nürburgring on the 1st of October. It is now time to break up for the summer on the 5th of October. We're at the Nürburgring for 100 minutes. Then Monza on the 26th of October. Bridgehampton on the 16th of November. And on the 30th of November, we are going to Provence Alps Hill Climb. 7th of December, we finish off the season at Gay Paris here this season. So this should be an absolutely amazing one. Let's have a look at the track itself. It is the Goodwood Motor Circuit. Location, West Sussex in England, not far from me whatsoever. Length 3.86 kilometres, 2.4 miles, built round about 1948. And we're on the 1952 layout. Now, what are you going to see from the 1952 layout? Well, I can tell you now, you're not going to see a pace lap. You are going to see a Le Mans style start straight to the car, straight to green flags. One of the things we will set up, I'm sure, at one point is we're going to watch Ross Smith run to his rig from his kitchen right the way through the office, because we want to make it as realistic as possible. Let's be real. We would all pay to see Ross Smith run through his house at full speed to get to his rig, ready to jump into the car. That would be absolutely amazing. Now let's have a look at the keys to the race. Maximum attack they've put. Well, let's hope we don't have too much attack. But yeah, maximum attack will be one. Staying on the tarmac, always a big one. We'll go into the staying on the tarmac from the last race very shortly. Pick your battles with the multi-classes. Well, again, we don't need to express how much they need dual care and attention, right? Let's be real about it. Let's have a look at the strategies here today as well. Well, for Div 1 and 2, it's going to be 2 times fuel, 15 to 20 minutes on fuel, 2 to 3 stops throughout the race. Car to beat will be the 904 and the Giulia TZ. That's going to be very, very interesting. Div 3 strats, let's have a look. Moving on from them. Div 3 fuel, 2 times, 20 to 27 minutes, 1 to 2 stops. All fairly equal in the car. Stay on the island, stay on pace. and elbows out where the D1 Div 1-2 was crush corners, good exit, and avoid D3 shenanigans. So there we go. Right, now let's go into the scores on the doors currently. Well, we're going to start with the Div 3s, I believe. There we go. Bradley Sellers is out in front after his win last time out as well, with JT Tammy in there, and Nicholas Kirstens is sitting on third, Magnus Dahlgren in fourth. And then we've got Wouter de Bruin, Ethan Funk, Timon Suvic, Ross Smith, Mike Bell, Alexander Schultz. Then we've got Tom Lane, Jason White, Brian Hall, Carver, Sir Johnny Gutierrez, Angus Tong on Jeffrey Ellis. In the standings, team standings, it's Smile Power Racing out in front with Mike Bell, Bradley Sellers. Emmy Racing with Timon Suvic and Magnus Dahlgren. And then Rookie Monsters with Ross Smith, Angus Tong, and Wouter de Bruin there from the same team. Moving on to... We've got Div 3 AMS, Jerry Chen on pole position and in the front of the championship with 70 points with George Angelidis in second, John Meyer, Barry DiMarzo, Dave Kors, Jason Whitehead and Yaroslav Zakic. Flying Kiwi Racing in front with Jerry Chen and John Meyer and Scudiera Cavelli Ferrari, George Angelis and Jason Whitehead with Barry DiMarzo in there as well. Div 1-2 AMS, gone to the pros first, Alko Businic is in first place, and Daniel Herlock in second, and Becky Ely sitting in third. Reese Gardner and Ben Borman with Cameron Barker rounding out the top six. Dan Kirby all the way down in seventh with David Jean, Oliver Day, Luca Tavanari and Eduardo Benica. On the right-hand side in the middle, we have got 12 to 23 to see if your favourite driver is on there. Joy Motorsports leads the way in the team standings with Mike Bell Motorsports in second, Fatigo Motorsports Monsters in third, Alpha Australia's held Victus in fourth, then CMS Pro Alpha in fifth. Mistral 747 brings up the rear. Moving on to the Div 1-2 AMS, Eric Monet out in front, and Adam Gray in second, with Michael Locke in third, James Bowders fourth, Santiago Danco in fifth, Tom Montjoy in sixth, Fernando Ferreira, Luke Goodlife, and Felipe Marazzi. No team championship in the 1-2 AMS. There's lots to discuss from the last round, but let's bring in one Mr. Bradley Dalton, who's going to join me today. Bradley, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I'm doing pretty well, James. I can't complain too much. So it's always a good day when I'm here at Historics and, of course, Goodwood, which traditionally I know Goodwood for the Goodwood Festival of Speed and the fun projects that we get to see from there and the super expensive cars that people like to run into hay bales. But hey, I'm excited to see what the VWSC Historic Series can do here with a good race around Goodwood for a while. I think it's going to be a good race.
Yeah, I think it will be as well. As I say, they're going to be around about 64 to 65 laps. I've worked out, done 250 kilometers basically, but divided by 3.86, and it gave me 64.99999321 or something random. So I'm expecting around about 65 if they've rounded up, which is obviously what we do in maths when we're above 5. So I'm hoping these guys have done the same. But I can tell you one guy who might be able to tell me if that has actually happened as well. That would be Mr. Ross Smith. We'll have a chat with him in a minute. We can't forget the fans. Nestled at home in YouTube as well. Kim D, welcome in. Thank you so much for joining me. Stacey Scotsman as well. Much love as always. And I believe Phil across the pond is Becky racing today. I believe Becky is on holiday, if I'm not mistaken. I think I've just seen in there as well. So, oh, hold on. Oh, no, she's actually showing in the pit lane, Phil. So there you go. No cursing today, though, because she won't be too impressed with that one. But let's find out more about this race today. How tough is it going to be? How quick is it going to be? And what is going to be the situation? There's only one man who can really come in and tell us that. He's got the man with the knowledge, the man with the know, the man with all the information, and he still won't tell me what next season's historic is. But, hey, let's bring him in anyway. One, Mr. Ross Smith. Ross, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
Good, James. How's everybody doing?
I'm very well, mate. I'm very well indeed. How's things with you?
Well, they're going all right. We're getting ready to go into our warm-up session here and do a pit box check. It's really tight out there on pit road, so make sure everybody knows who they're dealing with when it comes to that. And you're going to hope that you got somebody from the other category. Although, we'll say with the Virgin fuel tank sizes, strategies, probably going to be okay, but you just never know.
All right, tell us what it's like going around Goodwood, Russ.
It's hectic. It's going to be one of the most elbows out races of the season because the cars are fairly well matched. Div 3 has a little bit of an advantage overall, as you can see with some of the times. But I mean, it's definitely more of an overlap than you see in some of the other tracks. Not as much as like Targa Florio, and it's certainly a lot shorter. But I mean, it's a real hard-working track. You got to be on top of the wheel the entire time. You got to hit your turn-ins, especially hit your braking zones. I mean, it's just going to be chaos because as soon as you go off, I mean, you just lose boatloads of time. So, yeah, it's hot.
No, man. Listen, quick question. How much of this lap are you under full speed here? This reminds me, I'll tell you why, right? This reminds me of a very oval-esque racetrack. It doesn't look like it's got a lot to it. It looks like it's just got one long right-hander right the way around from turn 1, right the way through till you get to St. Mary's, right, the left-right. But even then, that doesn't look overly complicated. And then you're turning right again round Lavant Corner, all the way round from Woodcote into the chicane at the end. Are you, 80% under full throttle, or are you not really and you're feathering it to get the grip?
Well, it's you're kind of feathering it in all kinds of different places. And I can say with the Div 3s especially, the way that you approach this track is just very much you want to shift the weight around so that way you can get that maximum attack like you mentioned before. And with the Div 1 and 2s, you just want to carry as much speed as you can through the corners so that way you can maximize your attack through there and set yourself up for a good long straight. And it's with the overlap would be the 1 and 2s, you're just going to scream through the corners compared to the top class, and then it's going to go the other way on the straights. So yeah, you can already see that there's a little bit of mix in the qualifying. I've got I think Reese Gardner is lined up next to me, so hopefully I can get a good launch off the line and just get up in front of him and stay with the Div 3s.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the main situation, right? You know, try and stay with the people in front. One question. What is it going to be like in the pit lane? Because I'm looking at the pit lane now and it looks quite horrible. I have to be honest. It doesn't look very long. Trying to get you all in looks like I'm trying to squeeze Paul Glover into a spandex outfit. It's never good, right? So how tight is it going to be on the pit lane?
It's tight. We on Tuesday night we did have a couple guys, I think there might have been 1 or 2 that had to share. I don't think they ended up having to actually share. They can make it work where you've got a double stack and get service at the time. But we didn't actually see that happen in the race here. That's tough to say. You hope you don't get lined up with somebody who's in the exact same car as you, because at least if you can line up with anybody else in a different car because of the way the fuel tanks are, you might end up having a chance at just missing them on the road. As you know, these fuel tanks are pretty large. They take a long time to fill. So it's one of those things where you just cannot get caught up there because you'll just lose enormous amounts of time if you're just stuck waiting for someone to get their service done.
I'm a little bit scared here because I'm looking at this grid right about now, and I've got this on a different camera to what you guys are looking at home, and there's 2 free wide in this pit lane. I'm deadly worried that if 2 people come in, or 3 people, or 4 people, or 5 people, and they're all going to be round about the same pit box, this pit lane could just be absolutely chaotic. We've got 32 cars on the grid here, Ross. You know, are we really expecting chaos that we are now looking at home with the 3 wides? I am a little bit worried. Have the drivers been specifically told, be careful when you're coming in, or let us know when you're coming in so the person who is eventually sharing with you can maybe not go in as we see JT Tammy there in the Corvette doing a nice little donut right in front of the screen.
Well, yeah, I mean, local coordination is going to be key. Now, pay attention to the types of cars that are next to you. That's going to be their ticket out of that kind of overlap situation. But it's just because of the way the cars are. I mean, you look at Div 3, for instance, Shelby is going to pit for the other. You're going to have the Ferrari come a lap, Corvette a couple laps after.
Right,
So
I did miss a bit of that, Ross, because you cut in on and out on me. So, just say that again, sorry.
The Div 3s are all separated from each other in terms of their fuel tank capacity. So they're going to be offset. Where it comes a little tricky, It's when you have some of the other classes mixed in with them, because they should end up being sooner than the other ones because their tanks run out faster. But we'll just have to see how it works out. Obviously, if there's damage being repaired, that's going to have an impact.
Right.
It's just going to be a roulette, I think.
So we're going to see JT Tammy coming in on his own, right? Because we know that Corvette can seem to make fuel last out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's got enough fuel that the Lotus could probably swim in.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think the JT in that Corvette just he seems to every race have enough fuel to last. Stacy in YouTube chat summed that up in 2 words: holy cow. And that was literally us looking at the pit lane there as well. So good luck to all of these who are in this race and going into the pit. So I'm going to be very interested to keep an eye nicely on the pit lane, because I think that's going to be probably a main focal point at some point here as well. All right, now we've discussed everything to do with this race. Let's discuss Ross Smith. Where are you, Ross? Where are you in this race? What are we hoping for? Nars, you struggled with on Thursday a little bit. What am I expecting from you this week here this evening?
Well, Goodwood's got should go a little bit better than that, for sure. I mean, there's definitely more practice to run this on Tuesday during the week. So that was only a 50-lap race, a few laps. So it was a little bit shorter, and that was about the maximum that the Shelby could do on 2 stints. Coming into here, you're going to see a lot of the guys that are driving around here. They're going to struggle with tire wear for sure. And I mean, this might be the first track where some folks actually question whether or not they want to actually change an axle or not. Personally, I'm just going to be keeping up with my group as much as possible and staying on the road, because I had a couple offs and ended up just completely losing touch with the leaders. So you just have to stay focused. You can't get excited. You lose position or people break away. I think you just got to hunker down, focus on your race as much as you can, just keep steady and try and keep the car just sipping at its resources while you're nailing the time. It's easy.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. It's dead simple, isn't it? Let's be real about it. Listen, in the background, what am I got coming out of CMS? What's the news, stories? What's the situation with you?
Well, obviously, we've got the 100th race of VWSC, not CMS.
Yep.
CMS has had probably thousands at this point, if not 100,000. But for VWSC, it's been going for 4 years, and we wanted that little celebration video together. I'll actually be, I think, leading the field in terms of the drivers with the most races in the series, so that's kind of fun. I'll have a special for that this season. But CMS itself is celebrating 25 years in sim racing since 1999. We're actually having a special event for that between NARS and MNRL. It's going to be T1 GT2 series where you race just GT2s on Tuesdays and GT1 on Thursdays. And points will be combined. We've got tons of different championships happening there, so it's really cool. It's, yeah, that's the big news there. As far as the modding goes, we're just cranking away, still on track, trying to get the historic modern cars ready next year. We actually have a couple guys, Gene Mazur, who's not here today, unfortunately. He'll be helping out with that. And I think that's all I got.
Just to confirm, obviously, the date, the year for the historic, that was 1971, right? You said?
No, we did 71. That did show up in the video. That's well observed, though. I mean, not a lot of people can catch that, especially since you got that 74 Alfa Romeo in there. So, very good. Looks like we're heading on, so I'm gonna have to hop out, guys.
Oh man, take care, Mr. Smith.
All right, thanks everybody.
Cheers. Yeah, Brad. I tried to get more information out of him, and he said nothing.
Yeah, he said nothing. However, I'll see if I can't get him to tell me across the next week, and then keep the secret until it's announced. So, obviously, I won't share his secrets, but he should share his secrets with me, just so I can say I know and you don't, James.
Very nice. Thank you very much for that one. Right. We are going to be, as I say, 65. Look at that. I was near enough correct here this evening as well. Cars are going to be getting on the grid very, very shortly. In fact, they are getting on the grid now. So let's have a look and see if we can get the grid up and working properly. So the grid is set. Let's have a look. There we go. De Bruin is on pole position with Nicholas Kirsten is in second, Tom Lane third, and Bradley Sellers in fourth place there at the end of row 2. Then on to row 3 is Magnus Dahlgren, Mike Bell. Ladies and gentlemen, we are green. There is no pace lap. Reese Gardner, Ross Smith, Dan Hurler, Mike Bell, Magnus Dahlgren all on there. They're coming into turn 1. Tom Lane, Bradley Sellers, Woodward De Bruin running side by side round turn 1 here as well. Nick Kirstens, Mike Bell, Dan Hurlock, Ross Smith, all battling it out. Everybody made it through the first part of the circuit, Brad. How are they going to get on making it through the rest of it?
Well, I'll tell you right now, through the rest of it is going to go fairly quick. It's about a minute and a half lap. And so things are going to move really quick here through the field. Everybody's getting single file. I see a lot of dust in the background. And I know there was a little bit of a conversation we had with Ross pre-broadcast about track limits. Something just went flying again. Somebody's going very wide there. I think this is going to be just the nature of the races. A little bit of chaos. A little bit of chaos for at least the first couple of laps. They'll have a couple of laps of just nice, calm, relaxing racing. And then it's going to be chaos to the end. We've seen this a couple of times in the moderns, but I think this will be the first time we really get that experience in the historics of just constant mixed class action.
Yeah, Bradley Sellers, Woodward De Bruin going side by side there. You can see on your screen down into the bottom left corner. That's Nick Kirstens. He's under pressure at the moment from Timon Suvic, Mike Bell with Dan Hurlock. But Woodward De Bruin and Bradley Sellers battling away. Tom Lane is taking the lead. Into the chicane they go. And now we're off again on that run round turn 1. That is it. That's the lap done. Finish complete. Capiche. Finish. Finito. Oh, zippity doo-dah. Now we're on for lap 2. It could be a very quick race here, Brad, because I think where this lap is so short, I think they're going to fly rally 65 quite quickly.
Yeah, 65 laps at about a minute and a half a lap. We're looking at about a 100-minute race in total, which is fairly quick here through. Somebody going off there in the bottom right corner as we get this picture-in-picture action. Big Woodward De Bruin there on the main screen. But down in the bottom right, we do, of course, have the action further back in the field. And there's going to be a lot to keep up with. This is mainly focusing on George Angelidis. He's in that mid-pack Div 3 AM leader right now, and he's going to have a lot of battles keeping off Jerry Chen back behind him there. We'll see how he goes as the race goes along, but these top 3 are giving us action here, James. Yeah,
I can tell you now, Gilles Lalonde's been off the side of the circuit. Neil Wood has also been off the side of the circuit. On your screen at the moment, that is Tom Lane. He's got Woodward De Bruin and Bradley Sellers tucked right behind him is here, but we've got Reese Gardner in the bottom right battling with Ben Borman down in the right hand corner. There's a lot of action here all the way through, and I've got a funny feeling here, Brad, this is where poor old Paul in the background is going to be earning his dollars here, mate, because this is going to be full bore, isn't it?
Yeah, this is reminding me of Brazil in the modern series recently that we covered, which was a lot of action everywhere. So everyone, go ahead and just hang your hat really quick for Mr. Paul Glover. I know he's going to have a fun one here. We're going to have a fun one here. We'll see how this ends up all the way through, as we're already 3 of 65 in. Tom Lane yet again holding the lead here. Woodward De Bruin in second place. And James, I tell you what, I don't know how long this will stay like this, because I do worry that some of these guys are going to overdrive their cars early on and lose some tires, lose some grip, and the car's just going to get away from them.
Yeah, I think that's the scary thing. The even bigger scary thing is there is a back marker right in front. Oh, you're off. He's off. Woodward De Bruin off the side of the circuit. Onto the grass in the background, loses that place to Bradley Sellers. I've got a funny feeling that is Antonius is into the pits there. I'm not going to try and pronounce your last name. I do not want to butcher your surname, but it looks like he has gone into the pit lane. But I believe there is also another car in front of these guys. There he is down the road there. You see the red one in the distance. He is literally in front of us currently at this moment in time. I'm just trying to find out who that is and whether or not it could be Antonius again in front of Tom. No, he's too far. Oh no, it is Antonius in front of Tom Lane. There's the mistake from Woodward De Bruin as he goes off the side of the circuit. Bradley Sellers makes his way through there. All well and good. Hunky-dory. It's going to be manic all the way through. I can tell you, Becky Ely, Reese Gardner, Ben Borman, they're all close together. Tom Lane catching up with a back marker here, Brad. How are we going to keep up with this? It's non-stop. Magnus Dahlgren in the mix. Becky Ely's in there. You've got Reese Gardner, Ben Borman, Daniel Murlock, all in this little mix of battles here. This could be just absolutely flat out manic.
Yeah, this is going to be chaotic to keep up with, but it's going to be fun. I like races and action like this, where it's fun to keep up with. This Paul in the background is reminding me that he's here. And also, I'm going to go ahead and say the surname one time for Mr. Antonis Paparinopoulos.
Paparinopoulos.
Yes, Paparinopoulos.
That'll do.
Paparinopoulos.
Yeah, but we won't go too deep into that one. Magnus Dahlgren here is sitting in ninth. He's chasing down Dan Herlot. This is, of course, it's a Div 1, Div 2, Div 3. Dan Herlot Div 1, Div 2, Magnus Dahlgren Div 3 battle there. And behind that, you can see Dahlgren as, he's just about near enough got, is that Becky Ely? Tucked in right behind him there for Magnus Dahlgren.
Yeah, that is Becky Ely right there in the back running around. And I tell you what, I'm kind of amazed that things are still as mixed as they are with Div 3 and 1-2. What I really thought Div 3s would have more power through here and be separating a lot more, but they're not. They're not getting as much of a pull away as I expected.
Yeah, this is the replay at the start. This is what happened to Gilles Lalonde right at the beginning. I believe he runs wide going out of turn 1 and basically just goes onto the grass. You'll see him coming into the picture now, and then all of a sudden he's going through the next one, and then it'll just end up out on the grass, and unfortunately for Gilles, just losing it around that long right-hander. Very tough corner when you're running at full pace here. There he is there, still in that 65 machine. If you keep an eye on it just about now, you'll see him come off. There you go. And unfortunately it goes off as well, and there's also Scar Pope goes off the side of the circuit once more. So, action all the way through. There's still action now. Santiago Dancourt looks like the first DNF. He looks like he's been off the side of the circuit. Paparinopoulos is also off the side of the circuit. Mountjoy and Wood de Bruin have all taken off tracks currently here once more. So a lot happening. We're coming into the chicane. We are 5 laps down already. We've got 60 to go here, Brad. How you feeling in the car right about now? Because that start would have had my heart pumping.
Right now, hopefully the heart rates came down, the breathing's regulated, and you're getting your rhythm settled in. If you're any of these drivers, that's really what you need to do, is just get the rhythm going. Don't focus so much on trying to run up to the car ahead and get a pass done right away. 60 laps to go. It's going to be a nice long race, and you need to just sort of settle in right now. You need to focus on saving the tires, watch the fuel, and just lap after lap be consistent and be smooth, because we can see the number of drivers that are running off track to the inside, running off track to the outside, missing track limits left, right, and center, which we've talked about already, how missing track limits left, right, and center can not be a good thing here in the Historic Series. So we'll see how the drivers go as they settle in, because what you can't do is exactly what we just saw Mr. Wood de Bruin do, and run a little bit wide there, run a little bit in the grass there. You don't want to do that. You need to just as smooth as possible.
Yeah, right. I think you're fully right. I think this is going to be one of them circuits where it's going to be all about flow, all about keeping it clean, and all about making it sure that you can get there. You know, we've got Dan Herlock and Ben Borman. This is a replay currently in the bottom. This is Tom Mountjoy, just looking like he's struggling to get back onto the circuit there as we're on board that, little bit of an argy-bargy. And unfortunately, just misses. That's the final chicane.
Ooh.
And there you go for Tom Mountjoy. So he's off the side of the circuit as well. Herlock and Borman still battling it out for the 1-2 lead. We've got David Celadon in the lead for the 1-2 AMS. I believe that's his first time appearing here. And then in the Div 3 AMS, we've got Angelidis and Chen battling it out, of course, as well. George Angelidis and Jerry Chen in that Div 3 AMS. So, could get very, very interested here. Both in different teams for George and Jerry. Jerry being in the Flying Kiwi Racing, tied with John Mayer, and Scudiera Cavelli with George Angelidis, Jason Whitehead and Barry DeMarzo. Ross nearly went off the side of the circuit there on lap 7.
Yeah, Ross running a little wide there, thankfully keeping it together, staying on. He's down into P9 now. and he is just really, I think he's driving to a delta. I think he is driving to a lap time and just trying to stick to it. Doesn't really care about the fact he's getting passed right now, because then you have drivers drifting it around like that, like Magnus Dahlgren just did. So we get a replay coming up here on the screen. That is the number 40. And this is Eric Monet and Gilles Lalonde. What happened with them? Is this a little bit of one runs in front of the other? They both go off track. And, well, it's taken them just a second to get back on the track. And there we go. They're back through. And we're going to see tons of that all day as we continue. That's just, I feel like that's going to be the norm, is just a little bit off, because there's no runoff. There's no sort of, saving grace to this track. It is very pavement, grass. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, well, yeah. You've literally summed that up. You have literally summed that up in one go. You've got tarmac and you've got grass. You haven't got gravel, runoff, or anything in between, right? Let's be real about it. These guys coming over the line now as well. Ross and also JT Tammy is in there, and Magnus Dahlgren sitting in the middle. Yeah, they're fighting out. Dahlgren and JT Tammy are nearly nearly hitting each other at some point, as these guys continue to carry on fighting. Ross Smith in there as well. So we've got 2 DNFs so far. Santiano Dancourt and Antonius Paparinopoulos is out. I really hope I've said his name, Jason Whitehead, off the side of the same George Angelidis' teammate, unfortunately going off the circuit. These guys coming down to the right-hander, past the flowers on the right-hand side. There you go, past the daffodil. Just about to come into the chicane about now. So it looks like everything is all good, and they make it through clean.
I'm taking a look at the timing chart right now, and I'm looking at speed, and Tom Lane, Bradley Sellers, and Mr. De Bruin are all doing about 150 miles an hour max speed. And then you have Timon Subic and JT Tammy that are hitting about 149, 148. You get back to Dan Herlock and Ben Borman, who are leading Div 1-2. They're only hitting about 135 miles an hour. But what's interesting to me is they're still not that far separated from the back end of the Div 3 drivers. And Div 3 EM is still mixed up in the middle. So even with the pace difference, it's all there, because of the fact that this track is just a constant turn.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It is literally an oval. I do swear blind, if this was a road circuit in an oval, we'd all be loving it. But these guys are not loving it there. Whoa! Is that Borman or Ely? Ely went off. And unfortunately, it looks like she may have had a little bit of an internet ta-ta-ta there as she kind of hit back and went off. This is what I said in beforehand. It's literally like one big oval with that practical chicane there. You can see the guys in P2, Bradley Sellers and also De Bruin, coming over the line once more. And they're still battling out as they start running down into turn 1. This is the chicane with Ben Borman. There, JT Tammy leading the queue, Magnus Dahlgren, Ross Smith, Dan Erlock, Ben Borman, Reese Gardner, and Becky Ely. They're all in the mix currently here as well. If you brought up the mix table, right, you can see, Brad, on the left-hand side, just how mixed up classes these guys are. It is literally quite scary.
It's something we don't usually see, and we've had a couple of those historic races this season, when you look back, that have been very class mixed. It's one of the things that I like about the historic series. I like that it's not, in the moderns, if you have a hypercar, the hypercar is going to be the fastest over the GT3s. In the historics, even though we have Div 1, 2, Div 3, you don't really know which one's going to come out ahead and which one truly has the advantage on track, because the cars are so different and so nimble in different aspects that it just makes it good for them. And some cars do well, some cars don't. And it seems like right now, the Div 1-2s are keeping up, and depending on fuel and some other factors, I'm not going to completely write off a Div 1-2 win here. If they can be nice and smooth and consistent, and Div 3s can't keep it on track.
No, I do agree with you. And at the moment, we've got Dan Herlock, Ben Borman trying to run side by side. On the top left, we've got Bradley Sellers in there with, he's chasing down Tom Lane. for the lead. That's JT Tammy's group behind. There's JT Magnus Dolben. If we go back a couple of cars there from Becky Ely, Lucas Tavanari, Cameron Bayarka, and Ben Borman, you can see they're all having a right old little ding-dong down there as well. So it's getting very, very interesting on the race circuit. JT Tammy in the bottom right has got Magnus Dolben trying to go up the inside here as well. JT manages to hold on to that position. There's Becky Ely. You can see in the bottom right hand of the corner, Ben Borman all under sorts of pressure here from Reese Gardner. Absolutely going mental currently on this short racetrack with 11 laps in already.
Yeah, I think this is the shortest lap of the season that we've had, honestly. And I think looking at the calendar, this is going to be the shortest lap that we have pretty much all year. And I like it. I like these quick running laps like this as it goes. We've got this 3-car battle for the overall lead that hasn't stopped between Lane, Sellers, and DeBruin. And at this point, I think for Tom Lane, he just needs to continue to drive smooth, keep it on track. And if he can stay in track limits, he's going to be fine. And just keep it moving, keep it grooving. And again, he just needs to keep ticking off the laps and keep it going.
Yeah, I do agree with you there as well, Phil. Becky's in a white car, number 14. Yes, you are right. Becky, with the difference with Becky's car is Becky's got an actual yellow bumper. Ben Borman doesn't. Becky's also got yellow on the front of her car where Ben Borman doesn't. So if you have a look at Ben's Lotus, it's just green. If you bring on Becky's on the screen, there is a yellow bumper on the front, so you can tell the difference that way. So it's Ben Borman in the bottom right with Reese Gardner, and then just behind that, you have a look at Becky's car, there's the yellow that's so noticeable on Becky's car as well, so you can tell the difference that way, Phil. Hope that one helps for you. So yeah, lots going on, lots been happening here over this short period of time. Brad, how do you cope with a race like this? This is full on. This is well above my attention span. You know what I mean? If Goldfish probably has more of attention span than I do here, Brad, I'm just going round and round and round and round and round and round. I feel like I'm doing Tsukuba short circuit on iRacing. You know what I mean? Where it's like all over again. You know, these guys are in heavy, old, powerful machines, and yet they're keeping it on the racetrack.
I'm going to make a controversial comment, and hopefully every European watcher doesn't come after me. Honestly, if I were prepping for this, I would have ran a couple of NASCAR races, a couple of Gen 4 NASCAR races, because that is, watching these guys on track, that is the closest thing I can think of that I could prep myself for, is a Gen 4 race. Because the Gen 4s are loose, they're hard to handle, lots of power, that's how these cars run. The only difference is you'd be turning left as opposed to turning just right. Even though there's a left turn somewhere on this track, but it really doesn't feel like it, because the guys are just straightening it out. This is genuinely, to me, just a big wide turn there. Bradley Sellers running very deep, gives Wouter de Bruin P2 there. Nicholas Kirsten into the mix now. Yeah, you know, I said you need to keep it on track and just stay smooth and consistent, and unfortunately, that is not how you do that.
No, it doesn't. George Angelidis and Jerry Chen, they have just had a moment in the final chicane. George was off the side of the circuit, Jerry come alongside, and then they tried to go too wide through that chicane. It did not work out so well for George or Jerry there. I know neither of these guys in the team standards are going to give an inch, but if we can have a look at that one, you can see them go too wide in the chicane and then go and bang into each other. So yeah, not a good look. I believe this is it coming up on your screen. You'll see George run wide on the left hand side here. So George starts this off, so he goes wide on the left very, very shortly, and he's going to come around the corner, he's going to slide, he's going to get it all wrong, over the car, over the curb. Now, this is the moment. They both try and go too wide through here, and it did not work out. That was the result. That is the result that both of these individuals did not want here. And I think going into the Div 3 AMs, Jerry and George are obviously fighting out for the championship. Jerry and George are obviously fighting out for the team championships. So there's a lot to go through. And John Mayer also managed to get position out of this one as he went past both of them, Brad, with the fact that they're causing each other's problems. So, you know, risk it risky for a biscuit, then it ends up all going wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you've got to risk it for the biscuit, but the big key is you got to remember there's still a biscuit you can get, even if you don't get it at that time. And this is Becky Ely, and I don't like what is about to happen here. And tap to the wall, and oh no, sends her straight off to the right-hand side.
Yeah, I couldn't. Unfortunately, that was out of the picture for me. But yeah, it looked like Becky had tapped the wall going into the chicane, I believe, on the left-hand side there was, and then she ended up into the wall on the right-hand side there. So yeah, unfortunate for Becky Ely. Lots spread out at the moment here, Brad, as well. We've got Chen and Angelidis are again trying to stay pace with each other. John Mayer going there. We've got Ben Borman and Reese Gardner running side by side currently as they go round the right-hander here. I say round the right-hander, Brad. The whole thing's right-hander.
Yeah, it's very interesting to just kind of watch these battles develop and flow. And I do want to point out, and because I think we missed it on the broadcast, we've officially mixed the front of the field to the back. Our top four have lapped our wonderful Tom Mountjoy in P30. So we will now have multi-class battles and mixed class and lap cars all the way through the remaining laps, which are going to tick down very, very quick here.
Yeah, we may have lost George Angelidis again in the same corner that we saw him go off a little bit earlier on. We did, yeah, exactly the same thing he did do there. This time, did he get in front of Tony McCoffin? He did. Was there any contact? No. So George did manage to survive once more. I believe we've got the replay on our screen. Jason White are doing the same thing as George did, round the corner, back end slides out, and then he goes off the side of the circuit and then comes back on again, going into that chicane as well. That chicane is kind of the main breaking point, Brad. You know, that seems to be the only point on the race circuit. Oh, Ben Borman, that's not Borman, that's Herlock, isn't it, in front of Ben? I believe, and no, it's Reese Gardner, sorry, in front of Borman, as they're not leaving each other alone. But Dan Herlock is there currently. He is leading the Div 1-2s here.
Yeah, the Div 1-2 battle is close. This Div 3 battle here in the front with Tom Lane, DeBruin, and Sellers has also closed right back up and is continuing. And I think the big key is that Tom Lane isn't overdriving. When I watch those three, I don't see anyone overdriving. We've got a yellow in Sector 1 somewhere, and I'm scared to know who's ran off the track now. As it has been, it looks like McCoffin?
Yeah, McCoffin. You don't want to have a look. You don't want to have a look back at that one again. It is exactly the same thing, and it involves our very esteemed boss man himself once more going too wide through the chicane. Nick Kirstens has DNF'd, unfortunately for Nick. I'm not entirely sure what went on there, but if we have a look at this, it's the same, kind of the same thing with Jerry Chen. McCoffin there, George runs a little bit wide, McCoffin gets up beside him, coming into the chicane once more, side by side, a little bit of argy-bargy, and unfortunately, McCoffin comes off worse. There's a tyre, I believe, just shot off that.
Yep. Yeah, Tony McCoffin, it looks like, is out. So that is unfortunate. And, well, it goes to show that the chicane is a problem. And what's going to be our next problem? Well, if you're a leader, it's every car that is slower than you and getting in your way. And, oh, I see a spin from Sellers in the background.
No, I think we lost Jeffrey Ellis. He's DNF'd. Mike Bell has been off the side of the circuit. Nicholas Kirstens has DNF'd. McCoffin still in pit lane, so we've lost four cars already. Ellis just looked like he disconnected something, and he just went straight on for Jeffrey Ellis. I'm not overly worried. It looks like he had some form of hardware failure. Nick Kirstens in the pit lane. It did say DNF'd, but he is sat in this pit lane and is on his way back out on the race circuit. So unless he had a disconnect there, Brad, that's probably the right thing. DeBruin and Tom Lane. Now, I can tell you everybody from 26th at this moment in time is one lap down from the leader. And Adam Gray is just about to go and join that club with Wouter DeBruin as well. So we've got from 24th, Brad, all a lap down over the leader already.
Yeah, and I will tell you right now, looking at the leader's pace, 124.2s for the top 3 is their fastest laps, but they're running 125s right now. But when you drop down the field near the back, they're going to be running about 128s, 130s is what I see going on.
Oh.
Is that Tom Lane walking up?
Yeah, Tom Lane, Woodward de Bruin, they were literally nearly side by side at one point there. Round the left-hander they go. One of probably the only left-hander on the race circuit, which is out by St Mary's, turn 4, and then everything else is just right the way down to the chicane. They're in the bottom right-hand corner, your leaders. There's the picture, but they go whisking through the camera. We're on above the windscreen, I believe, of Woodward de Bruin coming down here, and you can see the speed of these cars is just physically insane. Around this circuit, we'll try and have a look at the speed, and I'll bring you up a rough estimate on how fast they are going, but we're going to close all the way into Woodward de Bruin. We're coming into this makeshift homemade chicane. Otherwise it would be an oval without the chicane here, Brad, if they just went straight on.
Yeah, and they can almost take that straight on. It's just enough that it's forcing them to go single file through there and really to do something different. I think it's interesting just how much... I don't think that's tire lock. I think that's Tom Lane genuinely sliding the car around, because unfortunately with these older cars, well, fortunately, depending on who you ask, sliding the car is the fastest way to go. And how close Woodward de Bruin gets as they come through the middle part of the lap here when they continue on. I mean, it's neck and neck, lap after lap, but Woodward de Bruin just needs to send it in at some point if he can try to make a pass. There it is. As I say it, he sends it in there to the inside on the left-hander. And now, big swirly under brakes.
Yeah, Tom Lane cut his nose off there. That would be a nose job for Woodward de Bruin. Got hold of Kim Kardashian. She knows a great plastic surgeon. But Woodward de Bruin has literally just lost his nose. Tom Lane was very, very close to that one. And that could have been a very different story as we're on lap 19 of 65 here. Tyler Morales is sitting at Laguna Seca at the corkscrew. Nice, take a picture, send one over, that'd be amazing. Or a video, I'd love to see a video of the cars going through the corkscrew at Laguna Seca. That would be absolutely amazing. 24th has been lapped, 23rd is in front of us here, Brad. That is Gilles Lalonde, who has not had the greatest of races. We're topping north around about 200 miles an hour on the entry into turn 1. We dropped down to about 114, give or take, kmh, sorry, and then we're back on the gas again for the next run up here. 168, 180, 190, north of 200 kmh. Now round the right-hander, we're going to lift again. We are lifting just a little bit down to 195. Then we're on the gas again, back up to 210, 220. Still on the fold, lifting off back again, lifted off a little bit for the right-hander and left-hander, but pretty much, Brad, they're topping north of 210 kmh.
Yeah, they're absolutely flying. And, well, if you're asking about the conversion from kilometers into miles, we're looking at about 150. So the guys are going very quick here, and it looks like finally Woodward de Bruin is almost making his move on Tom Lane. He doesn't look as comfortable in that car as Tom Lane does. Woodward de Bruin does not look stable at all there on the front side. He looks very fast. Don't get me wrong, he's very fast and very smooth, but he is not nearly as consistent, as comfortable in braking, and as comfortable in the corners. He is fighting to catch that car, and I haven't seen anyone really doing that at this point.
There's a back marker there. That is Neil Wood. Neil Wood there just nearly ended up getting themselves involved in this one as well. I got to disagree with you, and I'll tell you why. I don't often disagree with you, but I am going to disagree with you on that. I think it's actually Woodward de Bruin who looks more controlled than Tom Lane. Tom's been a little bit squirrely. Don't get me wrong, Woodward's obviously had his visit off the side of the circuit, but, you know, Tom's also not looking overly comfortable. This is kind of a circuit that literally does mean you go, you know, right, left, right, left, right. You know what I mean? There's not a lot to it, and at the moment, I think Woodward is looking very stable. Don't forget he lost time to Tom Lane. Don't forget as well, he also has now got to fought his way back. It's like you can see Lane squirrely, can't make it round a back marker, through past Jason Whitehead without making contact. I would say it's the other way round, Brad.
I think it's coming and going. Like, watching it now, I would say that there's certain moments where I think Tom Lane is more comfortable, and there are certain moments where Wouter de Bruin is more comfortable. And then you still have Bradley Sellers that's in the mix, he's right there within sort of a dart throw. If anything happens between these two, Bradley Sellers is there to pick up the pieces. They've pulled 12 seconds on Mike Bell as it stands, and that gap is still opening up. 12 seconds and growing. So these top three, I mean, they're scary fast here on this track, which I wasn't expecting. Another DNF has gone through. I'm not for sure who that is at the moment. I'll have to double check.
David Bakker-Celadon. He is the latest DNF there. Bakker-Celadon is the latest DNF. Timon Civic's been off the side of the circuit. So is Oliver Newman. Timon's was quite spectacular. Yeah, Oliver Newman, the same thing, sideways into the corner here. You see just about on the. I don't know where that camera is coming from, to be completely honest. I think we're missing some of it there. Not too sure. As you see, takes that car sideways. Looks very gorgeous. Going sideways, smoke coming out of his tyres. And unfortunately for Timon Newman, then we've got flames as well. And then the man running behind with the marshmallows on a stick. What is it? Flaming out of the back. Let's have some roasted marshmallows, my little chicken.
Some s'mores would be very good, I'm not gonna lie. Especially, I don't know if they'd be good from car exhaust, but I think a s'more could be good right about now. I know what I might do for dessert tonight, James. Thank you for planning my dessert menu. Now we need to plan the dinner menu, and that's the question. This is Div 1-2 overall battle. Herlock, Gardner, side by side they go through here, and this track is barely wide enough for two cars, and we'll see if they... Oh! Herlock with some car control, James. What was that?
Oh, man, he did an absolute stellar job. Did Dan Herlock as they go through the final chicane there with Reese Gardner. These guys have been battling for quite a while here, but there's also a battle for second and third with Barker and Tavanari. They're continuing to fight once more. It seems like we've got 1 and 2 in the Div 3 Pros, or 1, 2, 3 in the Div 3 Pros, 1, 2 in the Div 1, Div 2s, and then obviously second and third going at, or third and fourth, sorry, in the Div 1 and 2s as well. It's literally only the Div 1, 2 AMs that's actually quite peaceful.
Yeah, things are heating up everywhere here, and I like it with how small this lap is because it's promoting this very tight racing. I do have one question though. Did Dan Herlock slide that car like that on purpose, or was that just a happy little accident? Did he Bob Ross it? I need to know.
No, it's control, isn't it? Let's be real. You know, it's car control for Dan Herlock. However, Gardner's coming back at him now. They've got Smith in. Oh, Herlock there again on the grass. Gardner again not being able to make it through. Very, very tough here, but this racing is amazing. Yeah, Wouter de Bruin. Oh, it's the same corner every time. It's George Angelidis, Dan Herlock, everybody else. Unfortunately, though, for Wouter, it looks like he absolutely rogers the wall. I believe this is what we're going to have a look now as Wouter de Bruin. You see him go off here. And then goes off, and then unfortunately it goes off the side of the circuit, and then, well, you can't actually see him hit the wall in that camera shot. It's a bit of a dodgy camera angle, but yeah, he goes and hits the wall there.
Listen, let's not complain too much about the cameras. Paul Glover behind the scenes is doing his best, and let's say there's a lot of action to keep up with as Dan Herlock is still under pressure here and trying to fight his way through the field and around people. That's the 00 in front of him, and I mean, he's got Ross Smith there in the 00. He's going to work his way around, and yes, I am saying that the Div 1-2s are right on the back of a Div 3. And they're carrying pace here. There's a wide run on. Oh, there's a tap to the wall.
I believe it still was Wouter de Bruin, wasn't it, on the nose there. Herlock again, side by side once more. That's Gardner coming down towards us. Gardner manages to make it through. Herlock now in second. The question would be, Now Gardner has got away, or got in front. Is he going to pull away, do you think? Or do you think Herlock's going to be sat there with him as we're going to another replay screen? That looks like Gilles Lalonde is going to make a mistake into the chicane. Oh, on the grass, Gilles Lalonde in the wall. Yes. So, oh no. My Corvette, the Corvette has gone. He's hit the inner wall going in and he hit the right hand wall coming out for JT Tammy, unfortunately, there once again. But yeah, lots happening here, Brad. Lots. Whew. We'll need a break after this.
Yeah, I mean, and just think, we're lap 25 at 65. The laps are ticking down very, very, very quickly. Did we get a count earlier from Ross on what we expect the fuel run to be here in the Div 3s? I don't remember for sure what we were told the fuel run was. I'm trying to do math in my head on how that's going to mix things up and how pit stops will mix things up. If pit stops will make things, any more interesting or chaotic. This is going to be a replay of Moynet going into the grass as we've seen. And, thankfully, the car hooked right and not left. If it had hooked left, that car would have been toast. Throw it on the back of a tow truck, send it on home. But it went right. He got very lucky there.
I definitely agree. But Herlock and JT Tammy, and I believe that's Smith there. I think there's been a couple in the pit lane. Monet, Tom Lane, Mike Bell, Dan Herlock, all in the pit, so they've gone on 26 laps, so they're going to do 52. Yeah, they're going to do another stop at least here. Lucky enough, these are all going in there, Brad, as well. Barker, Lane, Tavanari, Bell, Herlock, all sitting in the pit lane.
Yes, so my question about how long it took them until they pit, the answer, 25 laps. So if you do the math, lap 25 to lap 50, and then a run to 65. So we'll see how that mixes things up. Div 1-2, Becky Ely pit very early, I've just noticed, compared to other people. But I think that was expected there with the size of the Lotus fuel tank. We continue to see Bradley Sellers going around, and I'm really shocked Bradley Sellers is still out there running around. I figured he would have pit by now.
He is now.
There we go, into the pits.
Yeah, I believe that's Willard Bruin has not gone in there. Oh, and he missed his pit box. And he missed his pit box. Well, we're going to see how that one falls for Bradley Sellers there as he missed his pit box. Brad, never good when you're missing your pit box.
It's really not, and I hate to say it, but missing your pit box it's one of the mistakes you should never make as a driver, but it's also somehow the simplest mistake to make, but it's the one that you should never truly make as we continue to watch just battles everywhere continue on and are not stopping. But yeah, it's one of those that you look and it's like, oh, he missed his pit box, but then you have to think about it and it's like, okay, you should really be practicing your pit stops over and over and over. It's something that I think all of the drivers do, but then some drivers just neglect doing that little bit of practice, because it's one thing to say, oh, I'm going to run a slow little pace lap and then come into the pits and stop. It's another to be under pressure for 25 laps and have two cars breathing down your neck for 25, 26 laps, and then the pressure mounts, you need to nail that pit stop, and then you need to rip it into the pit lane, slam on the brakes, stop on a dime, and be exactly in the boxes. That is the number 19 of Mr. De Bruin, who has decided to visit that outside wall and give the grandstands a show. Yeah,
again, the same corner that everybody seems to be struggling with, and the same corner and probably the same part of the wall Walter De Bruin hit last time. So, a lot of poor old Walter De Bruin's problems seems to be down into that right-hander, which is, of course, his wood coat, and it's causing a little bit of a problem for most of these guys, as Walter De Bruin is now in first, and of course Magnus Dahlgren, Tibor Suvic, Ross Smith, JT Tammy, Tom Lane and Bradley Sellers. Tom would be the first man to have pitted. He's sitting in 6th place at this moment in time. Ben Borman leading the Div 1, Div 2 AMs. He's currently in front of Reese Gardner by about 22 seconds.
Yeah, and 22 seconds is a good gap there to kind of hold on to and keep. If he can, that's the big question. Really, the big question is he's got the gap. Can he maintain it? And I'm seeing the gap fluctuate a bit. It's slowly coming down, but still plenty of time to sort of maintain and stay comfortable. Div 3 AMs as it sits. Chen Angelitas back up at the P2, but he's 19 seconds back. And then, of course, De Bruin is still up front. De Bruin still needs to pit, though. Magnus Dahlgren, Timon Subic, and JT Tammy all still need to pit. So we'll see. Once he decides to pit, whenever it is, we'll see how that mixes up. This is going to be Bradley Sellers, who, well, he took a trip through the infield and gets back on the pavement there, but hey, you never know. You need to mow, and somebody in the background decided to Dukes of Hazzard it around.
Yeah, there's Whitehead and Bell have been off. Whitehead looks like he's going to have the same trouble most of them have had in that corner. Bell, of course, we've just witnessed. Oh no, goes off in the last corner as well, does Mike Bell, unfortunately for him. So the last couple of corners here seem to be causing the main problem, doesn't it? Through, all the way down through the Lovent, straight down through Woodcote. The Bruin has gone into the pits, and they're the ones that seem to be fighting these drivers on the backside, Brad.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how things are mixing up, where things are going, and we keep going around here, and I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to do the mental math calculations about how this ends up, because we've ended up in a weird situation where it was very, very close, tight, competitive racing for such a long time, and now that pit stops have started, it's just kind of blown everything open, and it's hard to tell who's truly where and who's doing what. But as it stands at the moment, I mean, De Bruin's ahead of Lane, ahead of Sellers by several seconds, so pit stop time is showing to be crucial here.
Sellers on your screen, sitting in 6th in class at the moment. Lane will be the on-track leader, give or take. I don't think Dahlgren has quite been into the pit lane. No, not going in again. What about Timon Subic? Is he going to look in? We know the Ferraris here. What about? Well, we know this Corvette's definitely not going to go in under JT Tammy. He can run there for days.
Magnus Dahlgren just showing off drifting skills all day, no questions, no issues. Just says, you know what, the Ferrari can go around. I'm ahead of the Shelbys right now. Let me show off a little bit here as it stands. Ford versus Ferrari at the moment. Realistically, the Shelby Daytonas are going to be back up in the lead as soon as they have to pit. I really just wonder how much longer these guys can go without pitting. I'm looking at our little behind-the-scenes sheet that we keep handy, and I mean, looking at fuel, they don't have that much more fuel, the Corvette and the Ferrari. It's around 100 to 140 liters is the two fuel numbers, so I wouldn't think they would go that many more laps, but this is also a super short lap at just a minute 25 for the leaders. So, yeah, we'll see. I would say maybe they're trying to make it a one-stop race. They're certainly on pace for a one-stop race, if that's the goal, and honestly, a one-stop race, they may be able to steal a win here.
Well, there's no reason if they can just do that one stop. If they're going 33 laps or so, they can get it as a one stop. If they don't go that far, they're not going to get it as a one stop. They've got to make sure they can complete the whole 65. Whitehead's got a problem. Jason Whitehead is basically, I don't even know what he's doing in that car at the moment in time. He has got a broken car. He's heading down the pit lane. Is Jason Whitehead, so he's gone and hit something. Unfortunately for him, there we go. He does look a little bit squirrely worry as he heads down the pit. Oh, he thumped the wall coming around the last corner. That'll do it.
That last corner is dangerous, and it is. I didn't think the last corner would be the most difficult part of the track, but it's also, I mean, it's caught drivers out in ways that I wasn't expecting. I think is the big thing with it.
It's just a right-hander.
Yeah, like I thought side-by-side, three-wide battles and shove somebody out into a wall, but we've seen a number of drivers just solo spin there. It's real weird. It's unusual.
I do agree. Now, one of the interesting things... There you go. You can see there, that's the 34 machine, which is Jason Whitehead there. That's how he's got damage on his car. The interesting thing as well, Brad, if you're looking at the race at the moment with Magnus Dahlgren, Dahlgren and Suvic are in the same team. They're in the ME Racing Ferrari. Now they're sitting 1 and 2 at the moment, and they're only 3.4 points off Mike Bell and Bradley Sellers. Now obviously Bradley's sitting down in 6th at the moment, Mike Bell sitting down in 10th. So there's going to be a massive disparity in points here. And we could see the guys from ME Racing go up to the top of the team standings come the end of this race.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be on their mind as they're running too, is they understand that, you know, you're running for those individual standings, and yes, you know, you want to be at the top of the individual standings, but you're also trying to look at the team. You don't necessarily have to be at the top of the driver standings, but if you can get your team to the top of the team standings and put that sort of group effort in to run very, very consistent races, it pays off a lot. Timon Suvic's into the pits now. They are in the Ferrari. We'll see where he comes out as he goes through and what his plan is. So he made it to lap 32. 32 times 2. I'm doing mid-afternoon math, so it may not be the best, but that's 64. So if he can stretch 33 laps, then it is possible for him to do this on a one-stop, and it is possible for him to find himself in on a one-stop possible win. We'll see if that actually happens, and if he does that, then it's going to look really, really good for the team.
I do agree. I think it's going to be very interesting. There's a big mix of cars from Becky Ely. We've got John Mayer in there, McCauffin's in there, Barker's in there. There's backmarkers in this mix as well. There is a wicked pack of cars from 13th all the way, well, we've got 29th in there as well, which is David Backer Calderon. So, yeah, good on. So, yeah, Wouter de Bruin, of course, sitting in 3rd at the moment, but we know Wouter's already been in the pits. We know JT has not, but JT can go a lot longer than what Wouter de Bruin can.
Yeah, and that's going to be, I think, you know, I think even if he loses this position here, JT Tammy, I don't think it's his race over. I don't think it's a big deal. While it is on track for position, JT Tammy is going to be one to make this a one-stop. He's officially hit that halfway point. So even if JT Tammy gets passed by Wouter de Bruin here, which is going to happen in a number of seconds because the pace is just enough of a difference that I'll be surprised it's a 125.5 to a 126.2. I mean, it's going to be just fine. The big question is, can Wouter de Bruin pull enough of a gap and cover off his pit stop and make sure that when he pits, he can still get back up front? That's really the $1 million question. And there's that pass done. So that is good. And George Angelides and Jerry Chen and Div 3 AMs are in the pits here, James. So Div 3 AMs are not taking the same strategy sets as the Div 3s.
No, but then I kind of expected George and Jerry to cover each other off, right? Partly because they're in the championship right next to each other. They're in the team championship next to each other. Angelides White and DeMarzo are only 9 points off these guys. So I'm not surprised that every race we seem to see Jerry and George fighting it out, right? It seems to be a regular occurrence. You know, they're stuck together like Velcro, and these guys just aren't leaving each other alone. And they're going to continue to fight, but they're also kind of the main team leaders as such. And that's no disrespect to John Mayer, because John does an absolutely stellar job, but it seems to be that Jerry and George lead the way in the Fly Kiwi and the Scudiera Cavelli team, partly because obviously they're the ones that generally finish higher up.
Yeah, and it's interesting, honestly. I keep saying this race is interesting, but for me, it's the whole concept of the historic series is interesting. As you watch, and you have to do the mix, and like I've talked about, Div 1-2 sometimes are better than Div 3s, and sometimes you just end up with this absolute mess that you don't know how it's going to end, because sometimes these cars are not predictable, and you can see that in the way they drive. You can see that with who's finishing where. While, yes, in general, we have our faster drivers, we have our drivers that we expect to be in certain places, that doesn't always, carry over race to race. And especially when you consider how far we've came since Daytona in February, and now we're all the way here at Goodwood, and we've still got to get all the way to Paris. there's still plenty to play for all the way up and down the field, and we could see things mix up 1,000 different ways depending on your car, your track preference. You know, certain cars and certain track combos work better. We'll have to keep up with it through the season. It'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, well, Tom Lane and JT Tammy now. The interesting thing about JT Tammy is the fact that obviously if he's going to go into the pits, he's going to need shorter fuel than Wootton De Bruin and Tom Lane, who are going to need on their second stop, and we think they will get a second stop. They've got 30 laps remaining here. JT holding on from Tom Lane. Lane getting that smoke out of tyres. JT doing exactly the same thing here around the left-hander. Probably one of the only left-handers on this circuit. That's through St Mary's. And now we're going to go through into Levant Corner, which is the double right-hander here. I think this would be one of the things that I think from JT Tammy's point of view of whether or not he's fuel saving. Now, I don't think he's going to be able to get to the end. I don't think he's going to have enough fuel to basically be able to do that, unless he's been fuel saving right from the beginning of the race.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't think he's been fuel saving since the start of the race. Then again, looking at lap times, 127.1 on the last lap, Tom Lane with a 126, Wootton De Bruin with a 125. He's doing something different. He's got some sort of a strategy in his head now. Am I psychic enough to read what the Corvette strategy is? No, but I will tell you, looking at things, he probably should have pit about the same time as the Ferraris. He's ran a lot longer than the Ferraris here, so really he should have pit a similar time to when Magnus Dahlgren did and when these other Ferrari drivers have, because they're similar fuel tank size.
There's no way they are. JT Tammy's tank is probably on the upper end of 140. Lane's on the inside here. This is going to be very tricky round turn 3. JT Tammy's off the side of the circuit. He's going to be coming straight back on. Onto the brakes he goes, but that stemmed from Tom Lane and JT Tammy being side by side, going round turn 3 before the round the left-hander of St Mary's. JT Tammy's fuel tank, I think you could probably get half of the Ferraris in JT Tammy's. If we're looking at fuel tank size, I think you're going to be looking, what did we say, between 100 and 140? JT Tammy's definitely on the upper end of that 140.
Yeah, but the Ferrari is in the 130s or so. It's not that far off. I'll have to double check the exact numbers here in just a moment. But yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. He's ran a lot longer than I was expecting. And again, I could be totally wrong on fuel tank size. Somebody can correct me or I'll correct myself here in just a moment. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. And I will say the big downside on all of this, though, I'm going to flip to the Div 1-2s as the Lotus, because I think the Lotus only has about a 40-liter fuel tank.
JT Tammy's in the pits. Tammy's
there
in the pits
we
now.
go. All right, so Jerry Chin is back up in the EMs too, because John Mayer is in through. We'll see if George can get around him here and continue through. We're watching Becky Ely here, but as I mentioned, the Lotus has a very small fuel tank too, but they've only had to make one pit stop so far. I'm curious to see what happens with them as they go. There's another Lotus in, and here comes Becky around, and it looks like Becky is in as well, so the Lotus is going to be doing at least 3 stops here.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the thing, isn't it? I think they're going to be doing at least 3 stops. The Lotus is only rocking a 34-litre tank, right? The Porsche's rocking 110. Alfa Romeo Giulia's 100. Corvette 136. The Ferrari 133. That 3 litres does play a massive part, and I think at the end of the day, that's why Tammy is able to go at least the 2-lap difference compared to what he was last time. And I think he's going to be doing the same again. I think if Tom Lane, Bradley Sellers, Reese Gardner, or any of these guys have got to go into the pits, JT Tammy has to be that target. He has to be in that 13th place where he is at the moment. And they've all got to look and try and work out whether or not they're going to be able to get in and out of that pit lane before JT Tammy comes through. Because otherwise, I think JT Tammy's going to have the win here as John Mayer goes a little bit squirrely coming down into that final chicane now. The right left does manage to hold it. So John Mayer there managing to hold on and keep the car going in the right direction as well. So great job from him.
Yeah, looking at things have opened up a little bit here, but I think looking at the battles, if JT Tammy is your target, you've got two things you're battling right now. You're battling JT Tammy for the win right now, but you're also battling yourself to keep your car on track. And as we've seen, that is so much more difficult for these drivers than I think any of the drivers even expected. Like, I know that we talked pre-race that it was going to be a very challenging race, but some of the drivers I think are racing against themselves and their own stamina right now to get through 65 laps. Because the more this race goes on, the more we're seeing drivers run wide, the more we're seeing different things happen that are just, mistakes on the driver. Nobody around, nothing really causing it. Like right there, Scar Pope to the inside, but I'm not blaming, or Scar Pope to the outside, I'm sorry, but I'm not blaming the car on the inside for that. For Scar Pope, yeah, oh, big slide, Scar Pope again. Thank you for proving my point, Scar Pope. He's racing himself here, and you've got to take care of your car, take care of yourself, and make it through 65 laps. This is essentially just a case of an oval race.
Yeah. But they've also got to be made aware that obviously at some points during this, they've got, you've got to turn that left-hand turn that is actually on the side of the circuit. So it's going to be very interesting. I think we're going to be in that period of stage where we see people go out away from each other, people come back in. But we've got fifth. It's actually quite manic here. Reese Gardner, and then we've got Mike Bell with Jason White at the back marker. Then you've got Ross Smith, who's also got John Mayer in front of him. Dagran as well in there with George Angelidis, Daniel Herlock. They're all very close together running all around as well. So there's a lot of cars in a lot of short area here, Brad. And I think at the end of the day, they've all got to play a part and they've all got to be a little bit careful.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think the careful part is the challenging part. I do think that is the issue, is because they're all drivers. And we all, James, you and me both race. We've been in the seat. You see the car ahead and you get hyper-focused. You go, I'm going to pass that car. And then you just absolutely rag on the car to pass the car. And, sometimes the drivers don't get that point in their head of, I can pass that car and I don't need to rag the car down. They miss that element of, I don't need to push the car to the limits. I can pass that car with just 1% more, 2% more. As we see, this is a good replay of someone else pushing their car to the limits, going wide, thankfully catching the inside line and not the outside. That's Newman going through, and, but that is, again, the drivers are proving my point time on time again. 1 to 2% can make the difference. You don't need to be all out or conserving like crazy. You could just 1 to 2% more sometimes is all you need.
Yeah, Tim Suvic's having a problem. Reese Gardner's having a problem as well. Both of them are off at the side of the circuit again here. So as we'll have a look now. And this is Tim Suvic. He goes in and you just see he gets a little bit caught out. Hits the grass and then unfortunately a little bunny hop. And then has to try and bring the car back on to the circuit. So and then we've got Magnus Dahlgren going off on the inside. You see him riding that inside curb. A little bit of a nudge by the looks of it for Magnus, but he manages to keep going in the right direction. So great job from Magnus there on that one. George Angelidis has also been off the side of the circuit. Again, a lot of these off tracks, Brad, and it's the same. Every time I go back and we watch it, it's the same. They've run wide, they've missed the apex. They've run wide, they've missed the apex. They've run wide, or in the last chicane's case, they've hit the wall.
The last chicane hitting the wall is really what's caught me off guard. I didn't think the last chicane would be that difficult going through solo. But it's that 1 to 2%. It's that difference. And now we're hitting lap 41 to 65, James. And as a driver at this point, you're going to start to get tired. You're going to start to get just mentally exhausted. It hasn't been that long of a race, but again, this is a track that you can just flat out the whole time. You don't necessarily, it's not like other tracks we've seen where you go for a while, jam on the brakes, make a turn, go for a while, jam on the brakes, make a turn, go for a while, jam on the brakes, make a turn. This is a track that really, you're just kind of floating your way around. You're drifting your way through, and you're just having a nice, fun drive of, max throttle for a good chunk and, just fighting the car around. This is really, I think, for as simple of a circuit it is, I think this is more demanding than other tracks we've been to. And, you know, for example, Le Mans, Spa, Targa Florio, I think this is more demanding in different respects because it is, if you back off 1 to 2%, you can cost yourself. But you need that 1 to 2% margin in your driving going through. But as we get near, especially between lap 50 and 65, I think that's going to be where we start to see the most mistakes come in. And we start to see the most moments of drivers, you know, drifting off into the grass a little bit because they're starting to hit that sort of mental block, I'll call it, where they need to push through to get to the end because you've been driving just hard for over an hour now and you've got to keep it going for at least another half hour.
Yeah, we've just seen Reece Gardner go into the pit lane and out, so Reece has done his final stop. The Bruins still out in front in the Div 3. Pros with Tom Lane, Bradley Sellers, Mike Bell, Ross Smith and Dahlgren. We're going to have to get this last pit stop out of the way to see where these guys all settle in. And I can tell you now, one man that is going to be settling quite well is JT Tammy, partly due to the fact that Reece Gardner come out of the pits behind him as we're 3 wide on your screen at the moment. Dan Herlock in the middle, Ben Borman in the Lotus there, and I think John Mayer on the left-hand side. On the it is John Mayer manages to hold it so far. Dan Herlock with Borman tucked in right behind him. Now through the right-hander we go. The only left-hander on the racetrack, St Mary's, now on the run down into Levant corner. Sharp little run, and then a right-hander around Levant. Dan Herlock still managing to stay in first place in class at the moment in time. First in Div 1, 2 AMS, but Borman's not letting him rest here, bro.
Yeah, Borman has been just right on the back of him the whole time, and I think Herlock just caught a break with whatever that car was. He got around there, one of the Div 1 2s or the Div 3 AMs, I believe, but he caught a break for just a moment, but then Herlock gets around and is right back on the back. And, you know, again, it goes to that sort of focus moment. You've been doing this lap after lap, 43 laps now, so you've got to just keep it together. As we see Herlock, I'm surprised is still ahead of Borman. Borman is really driving through him here and really looks like he should be ahead of him if he can find it. But I do think, again, as I've said, I think Borman has dialed that 1 to 2% back and has said, you know what, I'm okay just being behind Herlock right now. I don't need the pass yet. Herlock's going to make a mistake eventually and I'll just capitalize.
Well, by what I can gather, I think both of these have still got to go in the pit lane. So at the moment, as I say, JT Tammy is kind of the target man. He got in front of Reece Gardner and he's still in front of Reece Gardner at this moment in time. So for JT Tammy, he's sitting here laughing. He's been in the pits, he knows he's only got to do, that's it. And he's only got, 21 laps to go? And I think it's going to be within the next 25 to 30 minutes will be the end of this race. And I wouldn't be surprised if JT Tammy, if we look at where he is now in 12th, I wouldn't be surprised if he was near the top again.
Yeah, I agree with that. I completely agree with that, but time will tell as we go. I will say I like that things have calmed down, and if I'm thankful for the fact that things have calmed down here, and yes, probably just commentators curse to everyone, but Paul Glover is probably very thankful that things have gotten to a breathing point for a moment too. We have these close battles, yes, but for the most part, everyone's gotten in a single file run, and I think everyone's trying to make it past that next pit stop cycle, and they want to go forward. And as I said, that John Mayer here.
Oh, that was Oliver Newman, Luca Tavanari, and there was also another bump involved in these guys going off. You can try and have a look at Oliver Newman and Luca Tavanari. Newman goes in too hot, gives Tavanari a little bit of a push, and then unfortunately they both end up going round, and then they hit down in 28th, I believe, which is that David Backer Saladon and Tal Mountjoy end up involved in that one here. So we'll try and see. We'll get Paul hunting in the background to see if we can bring you the Mountjoy Tavanari incident. But currently, though, the Bruin 10 seconds out in front. But has he got enough time to get in and out of JT Tammy? And I think when you're targeting one man, JT Tammy with that big old fuel tank has got to be that one man, bro.
Yes. Yes.
Are you sure? You didn't seem sure.
No, I'm sure. I agree with you here. I do think JT Tammy is the target, and you need to just be there and on board and watching. We've got a replay on the screen here.
What's
Not
contact? It just Tavanari and Newman And then in comes two more. We flipped away from it. That was annoying. See if we can bring you up. The other two cars here, as Paul is declaring, it's not great camera angles. I think it's Tom Mountjoy, Luca Tamanari, David Bakker-Celadon was involved, all in that one. So unfortunately for Celadon, he ended up back down in the pit lane. And I think this is what we're going to see once more. Watch JT Tammy just managed to get through. There, bang, bang. So the 96 machine, Tom Mountjoy, was unfortunately involved in that one unfortunately for him. Ben Borman's been off the side of the circuit. Tony McCoffman's been in and out. David Bakker-Celadon have now officially DNF. Borman went off at that final corner, just ran wide and managed to get the car back onto the circuit here. We've got 19 laps and we think Wooten de Bruin, Tom Lane, Bradley Sellers and I believe Mike Bell and a couple of others have still got a pit again. Brad, you still there?
Yeah, sorry, I was coughing and muted my mic and then forgot to hit the unmute button. That's an accident on me. Technical difficulties happen every once in a while. Anyways, yeah, John Mayer here running through, James. There's still plenty of time. There's still more pit stops to go. I don't know. For some reason, I'm having a hard time doing the math on who's going to be where and trying to keep up. JT Tammy is 81 seconds off of Wooten de Bruin and Tom Lane right now. So I think they've covered him off.
I think.
I'm not saying that with certainty, but I'm thinking that right now. And maybe somebody can confirm for me because
I love the fact that Brad is sat on a fence. Literally, he's sat on a fence with splinters in his bottom. Here. Doesn't want to commit. You know, he needs to commit to the words. You know, as Oliver Day's been off the side of the circuit there as well. Ross Smith also looks like he's had a moment, and unfortunately he's gone trailing off the side of the circuit here. So, yeah, give Brad a minute to settle down, grab a drink, get himself back in order. But, yeah, 47 of 65, 18 to go. Wooten de Bruin, Tom Lane, Bradley Sellers, Mike Bell. Replay on your screen now. And that is Ross, who's going to go in and just not get it stopped and run wide, unfortunately for him. Shoot that wall seems to be an easy clip, says Kim. It does. A lot of people hitting that wall, and especially on the final chicane there, Brad, they seem to be doing that as well.
yeah, it's been the talking point of the day, and it'll continue to be the talking point through the final 18 laps that we have coming here of just that final chicane. And somebody manages to just prove our point there. I'm not sure who that was, as Tom Lane goes right by him with Bradley Sellers. They have a 13-second gap to make up to Wooten de Bruin, and they're starting to close it slowly but surely, but I don't think they're going to. And yes, I have done the math. JT Tammy is currently on pace for what would be a P4 finish in his class of the Div 3s, which isn't bad, granted, for one pit stop in that Corvette Stingray, but it doesn't seem like he's carried the pace through that he needed to. And it's the number 62 coming around, but look at the slide. I mean, one of the things with these historic cars, James, is just how much they slide around and how easy they are to control here. It's Oliver Newman that is sliding there, and I think he would have held on to that if he hadn't went over that curb there on the outside.
Yeah, maybe. He probably would have had it, but they know the limits of the circuit hits the curve, doesn't it? So for Ollie Newman, looked amazing, and I'll give you credit where credit due. It did look amazing, but unfortunately just kind of run out of road, did Oliver Newman there, and he's now dropping himself all the way round down into 21st place, with Neil Wood in front of him and Anna Gray, the leader of the Div 1-2 AMS, sitting in 22nd overall. So Still some action to come though, I think, here, and we've got 17 laps to go.
Yeah, 17 laps to go. Woodard Bruin is in the pits now, so we'll see where he comes out. This is gonna be telling. This is gonna be the sign realistically for where he is at on his run for trying to get the win, if he is in position for what he needs. We'll see. He's in the bottom right there. Keep your eyes on him. Tom Lane needs to put the pedal to the metal right now. He needs to just get gone and gone and gone. And any pace that was in that car, now would be a good time to take advantage of it. Because if he can try to get through, and I mean, it's 26 seconds, the gap between Tom Lane and Bradley Sellers and Woodard Bruin. It's opening up a little bit more as he tries to get back up to speed. It's about 29 seconds now. They're going to have to do a very, very spot-on, very quick pit stop, just enough fuel that he needs. He was only in the pit for 38 seconds, stationary for 31, so I think it's Woodard Bruin's race to lose at this point. As we go through, JT Tammy into P10, still 70 seconds back from the leaders.
I do agree. I don't think JT Tammy's got to pit again. To be blatantly honest with you, Brad, I think at the end of the day, he's done his one stop in that Corvette, and he won't stop again. He didn't clear De Bruin, which I was quite surprised about. Maybe JT's just had a bit of a dodgy middle sector here that could have got him up there, and I'll be interested to see where JT finishes or comes out in the next sort of 5 laps once all the pit stops have been completed again.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. Bradley Sellers running very wide there, snakes it back onto the pavement, so able to hold on to it. You're going to run off somewhere. You might want to make sure there's tarmac on the outside, but he runs wide there, and now Tom Lane just taking off here. When did these two pit is my question, but Woodard Bruin 28 seconds. They're going to have a 10-second faster pit stop than Woodard Bruin, or when they pit, they're going to just have to floor it and make up 10 seconds in 15 laps, or however many laps they'll have, and I don't think it's doable. I don't think it's doable for them to make up that much time. I do think this is Woodard Bruin's race to lose. I think realistically JT Tammy is going to be on pace for probably a P4 finish. Looking at the gaps, I do think he's at pace for P4 if he can hold on to it. There's no way JT Tammy needs to pit again. But then again, Magnus Dahlgren in P5 is in a Ferrari, and Timon Subic in P9 is in a Ferrari. So do they need to pit would be my next question, and I don't think they do either.
Well, we're going to find out, I think, over the next 15 laps here. Stay with us, guys. Get your drinks, get your popcorn, because I can tell you one thing, the end of this race is going to be spicier than a vindaloo in your curry house, because a lot of people are going to end up coming back together. It's going to be whether or not Woodard Bruin will take the win. How far up will JT Tammy get? That's going to be an interesting one to discuss later, of course, and we'll see how far he does get in as well. Jason Whitehead, I think, off at the side of the circuit again, snaps and then comes back across the track and hits the barrier, and then goes across the track again, and it just misses Magnus Dahlgren there. Ross has also been off the circuit, and we'll have a look. Oh, he just disconnected. He just disconnected for Mr. Ross Smith. Bradley Sellers just taking it 3 wide past the back markers of Scar Pope and Oliver Day, and slicing it through the middle there for Bradley Sellers.
And now we see Dan Herlock into the pits here, going through. Bradley Sellers is still out and about here. We've had Ross Smith DNF, which is unfortunate. This is the replay. That's the number 60. Man.
That is Gilles Lalonde,
Lalonde.
65, yeah. Ross, we think, just disconnected. His car went a little bit haywire and it disappeared off the circuit. So, yeah, I think for Ross, that is a disconnect as well. So we saw Lalonde putting on his own ballet show in the pirouetting in the middle of the race circuit. Some lovely pirouettes there, and shame Gilles Lalonde wasn't a breakdancer, because he could have been in the 2024 Olympics. So there we go.
He would have been great in the Olympics too. He probably would have scored at least 1 point, or at least a tenth of a point for that. I don't know. Anyways, lap 52 is 65. I think our final pit
and the
stops are happening.
round go. Yeah, I think they are as well. Don't worry, Barker has not been in the pits for 4.5 minutes. I'm sure we'll just give the old timetable a quick refresh there, give it a little bit of a kick and kick it back into life. There we go. He is back out on the race circuit. John Meyer and George Angelidis, they're on the racetrack beside each other currently here. So George and John, again, it's Scudiera Cavalli and the Flying Kiwis in the teams and in the championships as well. It's going to be it's who could score the points here, I think, for these guys.
Yeah, it's I think that's really in the Div 3 AMs. That's the big question right now, is the points for the teams. I know, Jerry Chin is up there 30 seconds ahead. He's leading the driver standings, but the constructor standings, for Chin and Mayer, they have that Flying Kiwi Racing or team standings. Flying Kiwi Racing is in a good spot, 99.4 to 90.7. Angelita's Whited and Mr. DeMarzo are going to have to step it up through the end of the season to really start closing those gaps in those points in the Div 3 AM and trying to find their way ahead if they can. That's the big question, is if they can. And then, of course, you look at the Div 1-2 standings, and, you have the Lotus 23Bs of Borman, Ely, and, they're running pretty consistent here, at least with this race, and we should have some more tracks going through the end of the season that are going to benefit them. They're P3 in the team standings in Div 1-2, but I wouldn't be surprised if they can gain some more time in Div 1-2 and gain some more points forward in the team standings.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised in that one either, to be blatantly honest, but George has given John all types of pressure here. He knows he needs to clear him for the team standings. Does George? Is he going to be able to do it? That's going to be the question. Through that final chicane, they're going to be going in and off down the wrong now. You can see on the screen, they're running down once more, and John's coming up this side, John Mayer, and is doing a great job trying to keep John honest. Around the right hander they go. Again, is he going to be able to get through? George looks up the inside, nothing doing, takes a different line to Mayer. Now they're going down by St. Mary's, the only left-hander on the circuit, bar going into the chicane. And again, they're going to go left, and they're going to start turning right now. And George again is looking for that run. Going around the right-hander of Levant. Is he going to be able to hold it? He is being able to hold it. George tucked in right behind him now. John Mayer and Angelidis going to be battling out. Angelidis sliding that car on the way through. Coming down now the straightaway, going to be into the right-hander of Woodcote, the tricky corner that seems to catch them all out here. Can both of these cars get through without any problems? Is John Mayer, George Angelidis round the right-hander. Angelidis wraps it up better than Mayer. He cuts the inside off. Now they're going to try and go side by side. No, George thinks better of it. Through the chicane here, Brad, and that was half a lap of action from two great racing drivers.
Yeah, and I like seeing that as we're getting down to this 10 to go point, we're starting to see more action build through the field, and more drivers are starting to just, at this point, they're ripping the Band-Aid off and they're saying, you know what, it's 10 laps, make it or break it, and they're just sending it through, trying to make it to the end. We've gotten past that beginning chaos stage. We've gotten through that middle, dull, lull, slow stage where the drivers are very, just trying to make it through. And now we've hit the end, and this is where the drivers need to flip that switch, and anything left in the tank they need to find is John Mayer is getting, there's
in the wall.
In the wall goes John Mayer. Not what you want to see there. Again, it's make it or break it, and unfortunately I think some of these guys are picking to break it.
John Mayer there, unfortunately, straight into the wall. Not a good idea for these guys. Incredible action going on.
Absolutely, and a little bit of an update there. Bradley Sellers, 4 seconds faster in the pits than Woodard de Bruin. So we'll see if he can start closing that gap through. You can see he's also got a 4-second gap there to Tom Lane. So Bradley Sellers, if you want to win this race, you've got 10 laps to make up 11 seconds. across a 1.5-minute lap, and well, you lost 2 seconds on your last lap. So his out lap, we'll see here. I think he's going to be quicker this time around. After his out lap, we'll see what the pace difference is. So we might have a battle for the race win on our hands between the top three. And JT Tammy is currently P6 in class. So JT Tammy looking at finishing P6 in class. He's about 5 seconds off from Timon Subic. JT Tammy could... Oh, no! Well, that's Oliver Newman and Tony McCoffin. And, well, there was a track there for them to run on. And I think they decided to test out those Porsches as lawnmowers. And I will tell you right now, Porsche does not make a good lawnmower or a good off-road car. They are very well meant to stay on tarmac.
Yeah, McCoffin did get it back on track. Whether or not Newman did as well, he did get it back on the race circuit. So, yeah, very, very action-packed moment for Oliver Newman there.
Yeah, that was a big moment there. He went through the fields on the inside too. It wasn't just through the grass. He went through the whole field on the inside. He gets his back on track there, but he is going to be down quite a bit on his run. And now I love seeing the drivers slide through those final couple of corners. They're not trying to brake and take the turn all nice and tidy. Over and over, they've just decided to drift the car around, as we get a replay here on the screen of what exactly happened. And yeah, side by side trying to pass.
Yeah, watch McCoffin. They just catch corners just there, and then they both do exactly the same thing. Now McCoffin comes off to the left. There you go. He starts going, but Newman goes straight. And I believe he went near enough into that cornfield. He hit the bit of concrete, and he just, I believe, kept it out of the wall on the left-hand side. So, you know, he manages to survive. Ross is back in the race after his little disconnect. De Bruin is still out front. He's got 10 seconds over Sellers. Gardner leading the Div 1, Div 2s. He's got 1.2 over Borman. Chen leading the Div 3 AMs, and he's got 25 over Angelidis. We've seen Angelidis and Meyer have their own issues. Div 1, 2 AMs is Gray, and he's 6.6 ahead of Monet. Now, the thing is with Adam Gray is we don't really see him during the race. Now, this isn't any disrespect to Adam Gray, and it's not because we don't want to. It's we can see an amazing slide on your screen there in the car number 137. That's our cameraman just showing off there with Eric Monet showing it at slow-mo. Tom Lane, sorry, was there. Tom Lane was sliding it through there as well. But I think that's the thing for Adam Gray. He's gone about his business. He's done his ninja little bit. And he's just slid up through the order as Adam Gray is sitting in 22nd.
Yeah, and, you know, Adam Gray, sometimes the best race you can have is a quiet race, honestly. And, you know, for the Div 1, 2 AM, sometimes that's all they want is just a quiet race where we don't mention them, we don't give them a lot of camera time, and they run through and just make a run. So for Adam Gray, you know, I'd be perfectly content if I was in his position right now. You know, he's ran consistent the whole race. He's been smooth the whole race. He's done everything right. He's just, you know, running his own race, which is all you can ask for sometimes as we go through here. Lap 58 has officially started, James. We're nearing the end of what's been a exciting, stressful, somewhat chaotic time, but the drivers are doing well here. And at this point, if Bradley Sellers has anything he can do, he's got 7 laps to find 8 seconds.
Yeah, when you say it like that, when you say De Bruin and obviously Oliver Newman there goes off and tries to do the same as Tom Lane, but unfortunately gets it all wrong and goes and hits the wall. So there we go on that one. But that's the thing, when you say De Bruin, Bradley Sellers has got to try and make up 9.2 seconds. Never going to do that. 126.6 for De Bruin, 25.5 for Lane. Lane's got 9 seconds. There's only 7 laps. Unless De Bruin has an absolute shocker and hits something or loses 5 seconds somewhere, it's never going to happen there. Sellers is 10 seconds back from it. I don't think it's going to happen. As long as De Bruin's got definitely enough fuel in that car, there is no reason he cannot take this win. I'm more interested to see the Borman-Gardner battle because JT Tammy is sitting between these two, and we know how much of a lump that Corvette is.
The Corvette is a big lump. I like that you phrased that like that. It is a lump, and it's going to prove interesting for JT Tammy here over the next little bit. 59 to 65, 6 laps to go. We're looking at George Angelidis here, who is trying to fight Mr. John Mayer as he can. And I mean, for George, I hate to say it, it's going to be close. Looking at lap times, looking at pace, George is going to be under some pressure here to the end.
I think he could be, but it depends if Chen's got a pit. Has Jerry Chen got a pit? Otherwise, he's going to have an open into 25 seconds with Angelidis. And of course, Chen and Meyer are on the same team, where George Angelidis needs Whitehead, who is in 27th, and DeMarzo, who's not in here. So this really is more of the George Angelidis Scudiera Cavalli fight in that team championship. That's the problem. Whitehead at the moment is down in 27th place. What is going to happen to it after that? Well, we're going to find out and see what goes on from there. But at the moment, I can't see Jerry losing this.
I don't see Jerry Chen losing this unless he just slams a wall, totals his car. And I think at this point, if you're Jerry Chen, you got a 24-second lead. You could dial it back 3 seconds a lap and be just fine. And realistically, I'm not saying that's what I would do, but I would dial it back and let's see what this replay is. This is Adam Gray. We said he's had no screen time, and Adam said, you know what, I want screen time.
Yeah, but I think he'd prefer not to have screen time as he goes off the side of the circuit alongside Tavanari. However, I don't often defend rejoins, but if you look at the way Gray's car was going off the side of the circuit, it was only ever going to cut back one way because he was pointing the opposite way. You know, you've got to turn right to go left, right? And Adam Gray was turning left to try and stop the car turning right. So, you know, yeah, he may have come back in front of Ross and it may look a little bit questionable and everything else, but I think at the moment there was not a lot he could do. One of the things we haven't touched on, right, is the penalties coming out of the last race. And there was a lot.
There was quite a lot.
Where do we think? Now, obviously, there was lots of penalties added. There was far too many. But there's pending as well. The only, obviously, what do we do about that? Now, they've said there was no point scoring positions have changed except the following. JT Tammy now finished behind Jeffrey Ellis, right? Or, no, Jeffrey Ellis now finished 8th and Tammy 8th, Ellis 9th. We're looking at the off-track scenario. We've seen quite a few people go off again here. So are the results at the moment that we're giving going to be provisional due to the fact that obviously we don't know how far they're going to be and going to be going with these off-track situations again here, and we've seen quite a few of them.
I think we've seen a lot of off-track situations, but I don't think anyone's gained anything from an off-track. I think all of the off-tracks have really just hurt people. So nobody's been, cutting a corner to gain an advantage. However the official steward's phrase is, cutting the track to gain an advantage, I think is actually how they phrase it. I'll be surprised if anything comes out of this, but then again, with that being from last week, and there's drivers I see on here that have 52.5 seconds added. I don't know. I think you leave it as it is for this track because nobody's made anything up and gained anything. But I do also think that, adding 52 seconds post-race to someone is just, I think it's a little too much. But then again, we've seen real-life racing bodies just kind of make up rules as they go in terms of track limits and say, there's so many track limits, we're just going to change a bunch of stuff around here. I don't know. I don't think anyone's gained an advantage, but I do think there's a realistic rule to spirit of the law and needing to be very firm on your rule of track limits. I don't know, though. But With 3 laps to go here, and Adam Gray and Monet are now side by side. Oh!
It's battle for the 1-2 AM lead. Monet with Gray. Gray's got it at the moment. Monet wants it. And these guys are going to be battling. We've got literally, I believe, we've got 2 laps, I believe, to go. I think Walter de Bruin, oh no, we're still on 3 laps to go. But Adam Gray and also Eric Monet battling it out there. Walter de Bruin has we've got Mike Bell catching JT Tammy. Jason Whitehead, stop! Oh my Jesus, witness Christ. Jason Whitehead has just missed Walter de Bruin by what? Well, it looked closer than what it probably is, and I can probably just say I think I've just had more kittens on that one. If we can catch up with the Whitehead off the side of the track, that would be amazing as Adam Gray and Eric Monet continue to fight out. No team standings down in the 1-2 AMs here. So they're literally just fighting out for the leadership in the 1-2 AMs as well. Funny enough, it is Monet, it is Gray, and they're only separated by 1 point. So, yeah, this could be a great finish to the Div 1-2 situation. So Walter de Bruin is going to come over the line to start lap 64.
Yeah, I think if you're Adam Gray, you're fighting for marbles here because his team was disbanded after Capodiena because of the fact that they haven't had 2 drivers in 3 consecutive events, so they disbanded it, which is the reason that the Div 1-2 AM Team Championship has disappeared for us. So I think for Adam Gray, that would be a nice point to be like, you know what? I don't need a team. I can do it on my own and continue around. This is number 34.
Watch this. This is the Whitehead one. Watch this. Going off here. There's Brad in Walter de Bruin in the background, and as I say, I think that looked closer than what it actually was, and it's a shame we can't get like a camera shot over above the head, but I can still guarantee Walter de Bruin was in that car going, please don't do that, please don't do that, please don't do that, as Jason Whitehead was going across the circuit there. So yeah, oh dear, what an half a battle that was. We're going to go up in the air on this. I'm not going to see some fancy camera work. Well, this is you see Whitehead there, look. Oh, maybe it might be closer than what it is at full speed, but still, I can imagine Walter de Bruin is probably sitting in that car going, didn't like that one. As he goes round St Mary's for the penultimate time before we go on to the final lap here. On your screen at this moment is Mr. George Angelidis. As well, and he's as per normal got John Mayer tucked in right behind him again. So yeah, and this is Reese Gardner off the side of the circuit. Ow! Yowzers.
Ouch!
Not a good look from Reese Gardner, and he is now down in P11. With Dan Herlock not too far behind him. Walter de Bruin is going to come along and start the final lap. There he is in your main screen. That's Ben Borman on the bottom. Who is that alongside that's giving him a great little bit of argy-bargy? That's George Angelidis. So, this is Angelidis and Mayer, and we're going to keep an eye on Walter de Bruin on the top screen.
Man, these drivers are getting antsy.
Do you know what, though? This is a problem for Gardner.
It's a big problem.
It is a big problem, because if he doesn't clear de Bruin, his race is over. Where Dan Herlock, if he stays in front of de Bruin, he wraps up that 10th place. So for Gardner, it is a problem that de Bruin's in front of him, because his race is going to be finished as soon as de Bruin crosses the line. But for Herlock, he's going to cement that 10th place, and he's going to have the one more lap, because obviously de Bruin isn't going to get through him.
Yeah, I don't think Reese Gardner is going to get around de Bruin here to the end. De Bruin just a couple of more corners. I mean, he's had a good steady race, and he's got 10.5 seconds in the lead, so.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of De Bruyn's best win. Here we go for the final time through the chicane. Woo, De Bruyn, De Bruyn. De Bruyn, the water is going to wrap up the win here. And at Goodwood, Woo, De Bruyn brings the flagship race of the season. Why not call it that? It's Goodwood in the UK. Great job from De Bruyn. Ben Borman should come over and wrap up the win. Well, however, him and Cameron Barker are not very far apart. I think it might be Borman, because I think Barker's just got held up there, and there was somebody in front who's just got in the way, but it's Ben Borman, and he's got Cameron Barker there. There is Barker, there is Borman. So let's see how these get on once again. And is Borman going to hold on? Actually, they're going to come over the leader with the Div 1-2 AMs, because Adam Gray's in the front of this picture as well. So as long as these guys don't do anything silly, that's going to be your Div 1, Div 2 AMs, your Div 1, Div 2 Pros, and it is going to be Adam Gray and Ben Borman coming over the line together. Absolutely stellar job from them. Jerry Chen's not... Oh, is Chen finished? Oh, he has finished. Jerry Chen has finished. Okay,
yes,
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a scared moment then. I was like, why is he outside the circuit? Dan Herlock's going to come over the line as well, but it is your winner, one Mr. De Bruyn. We can have a look here at the final results. I presume everybody has finished. They have. So, yeah, we can have a look and see if we get the final results up. There they are. De Bruyn is your winner. Great job from Wooter as he takes the win. Bradley Sellers in second place with Tom Lane sitting behind him in third. Magnus Dahlgren in fourth. Timon Subic fifth. Mike Bell sixth. Ben Borman is in seventh with JT Tammy eighth. Cameron Barker in ninth and Dan Herlock in 10th. So it's Borman, Barker and Herlock, your 1-2 pros. De Bruyn, Sellers and Lane, your Div 3 pros. Then you've got Reese Gardner, Becky Ely and Luca Tavanari. Jerry Chen is in your Div 3 AMs. He's got George Angelidis and John Mayer. That is a big points haul for the guys in the Div 3 AM team standings. Flying Kiwi Racing there. Great job from them. And then Oliver Dane, Neil Wood and Scar Pope with Nicholas Kirstens behind that one. Gilles Lalonde and Ross Smith. Ross all the way down in 22nd place. Adam Gray is your winner in the 1-2 AMs with Eric Monet not too far behind. They're joined on the podium, but separated by Oliver Newman, by Tom Mountjoy. Then you got Jason Whitehead, who is down a couple of laps. Tony McCoffin, who is down a couple of laps as well. Into the DNFs, David Backer-Celadon and Jeffrey Ellis, and Santiago Dancourt, and Antonis Paparinopoulos is in 32nd there. There you go, Brad. Done.
This was a good...
Done.
This was a good one. This was a good race.
I think I agree it was, but I also see just how manic it actually was there. And I think I'm going to start with Adam Gray here. I think when we're ready to start bringing people in, I want to see it from the 1-2 AMs situation to find out just how manic it was, because I think overall it was very, very busy. Very, very busy indeed. And if everybody's ready, we're going to bring Adam Gray into the booth. Adam, your Div 1-2 AM winner, takes a win over Eric Monet. They were separated by 1 point coming in. It's going to be swapping back the other way because Monet was in second place. But let's welcome in Adam here as well. Adam, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Oh, mate, I'm all right. A bit hot today, mate. I've got to be honest.
Yeah, it's a bit warm here.
Yeah, sat in an office with no windows, mate. Trust me, it's toasty. But listen, I want to talk about with you, being that, and this isn't disrespectful when I say this by any shape or imagination, so please don't say that, but being in that bottom split almost, how manic was it out there with the cars coming at you on a lap that's very short, and it only takes 1 minute 36?
I found the Div 3 cars quite annoying, to be honest, because obviously they're a lot quicker than I am, and they're lapping me. But I found when I was getting behind them, I was losing time.
Mm.
So yeah, it's quite hard trying to keep it out of their race, but still have my own race.
Why do you think you were losing time?
I haven't got a clue. Every time I was behind a Div 3 car, I was just losing time, and it was like seconds at a time.
Okay, mate. Is that because all of a sudden you got quicker, or because they got slower?
I'm not too sure. Like I said, I was losing time, so I think on average I was doing a 129 laps. But every time I was behind a Div 3 car, I was just getting slower and slower.
Oh, right. Okay, well, that's quite interesting for you. But in the 1-2 arm standings, you and Mr. Eric Monet are having a right little ding dong.
Yeah, we were. That was a good battle at the end. It's a shame that he spun out.
Yeah, but you're close to each other in the championship as well. Do you think you're going to get it? Because we're on that summer break now.
Like I said, we've still got 5 races left, so I would like to think I can give him a good battle to the end. Hopefully, I will win the drivers' championship, but we'll see what happens.
Mm. Well, I'm going to be very excited to see how that turns out. And we are right. You've got Nürburgring, Monza, Bridgehampton, Provençals, and then off to Gay Paris for the final one. But Adam, thank you so much for joining us. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Again, just to the CMS guys, thanks for a good race. Good track. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a very good circuit. So well done to you, Adam, and thank you so much for joining us. And we'll pop you back up in the booth. But have a good day.
Cheers. Thanks very much.
And the next up is going to be the Div 1-2 Pro. And we will chat to one Mr. Ben Borman, the man who drives around in a skateboard on wheels with no roof. But he's done it absolutely amazing today and has taken that win in that Lotus 23B Ford. Ben, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
Hi there. I'm hot and sweaty.
Join the club. Yeah.
What have you been doing?
I've been commentating, mate. I'm sat in an office with no windows, commentating on you.
Okay, fair enough.
Thanks, mate. Thank you very much for that. How was it out there, Ben? It looked great fun, but I also think heart attack every single lap.
Not quite every lap, but there were a couple of big ones. Being face to face with Eric at one stage, I think last but 2 laps. But yeah, just so much fun. Brilliant circuit. I think for a lot of these cars, just the track surface is so alive, and you're driving them all the time. It was brilliant. This and wheel to wheel stuff as well.
We never got to ask you really, why did you pick the Lotus?
It's partly because I had a hand in building it. Nobody else picked it up, so I kind of felt obliged to drive it.
Right,
but
okay.
it is so much fun as well. So I won out there.
Yeah, you and Becky both in it. Both of you part of the Fatigo Monsters Lotus team. So of course that gives you a nice little bit of points in the championship as well. What is Ben Borman's aspiration for this season? What's the situation in the Ben Borman mine camp?
The situation is not to have races spoiled by disconnections. That's all I want to do. Just be able to have a race, have a good result. I've just suffered too much from disconnections this year, so that's it. Just be there at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you didn't have one today. You did an absolutely stellar job. So fair play to you, Ben. Is anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
I'd just like to say, in memory of Barry Wizzo Williams, who used to drive at ridiculous speed sideways around Goodwood.
Okay, mate. Well, thank you so much.
Some of my happiest memories.
For that one, Ben, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time out at the Nürburgring.
Cheers.
Take care. Right. Now I'm going to have a chat with Mr. Jerry Chen. Jerry, of course, taking the win in the Div 3 AMS here. Did an absolutely stellar job. Back with George at the beginning. They had a little bit of a ta-ta-ta. And then Jerry pulled away. And John Mayer then come in. And a little bit of ta-ta-ta with George. But Jerry, welcome into the booth, buddy. How are you?
I'm good, guys. Yeah, that first stint was fun with George. You know, as usual, by now, you know, we run the same setup every race, so I can tell George is better than me on the brakes, and I'm better than him on corner exit. So I was just trying to find a place to get by, and then I saw him go wide at that last turn. He got all the way onto the grass, and I took the inside line at the chicane, and I don't know if he didn't see me or he tried to fit 2 cars in there. I don't think you can fit 2 cars in the chicane, but he tried. Yeah, and then after that, yeah, I had a little good battle with John, and I think he ran wide on coming onto the back straight. And then after that, I just put it in the cruise to try and save fuel because I wanted to make sure I made the 32 laps to hit halfway.
Well, you definitely did do that. And I did wonder what George was doing. I think he just thought he'd get his elbows out, Jerry, and give you a right little ding dong into that chicane. But listen, for you guys though, in the team standings, you and John, you've racked up some nice points at the moment in this race.
Yeah, and this race is important since we both messed it up at the hill climb. We didn't get any team points at the hill climb, so it was important for us to get some good points in the last 2 races to get that lead back in the team's championship.
Yeah, it definitely was. But what's the championship situation in your mind, Jerry? Because you and George seem to be like Velcro every single race. What do we think? Are you going to take it? Or is George going to get it off you? Or is George going to get it?
Well, I just got to stay with him, I think, for the rest of the races because I think there's like 1 drop round. So, you know, as long as I stay with him, you know, if I'm not more than 1 position behind him, I think I'm good for the rest of the championship from a driver standing perspective. And then teams, you know, I think me and John are pretty good. You know, we're pretty consistent. So as long as we don't crash out, if we finish the race, I think we got the team's championship because we have a small lead, but you know, there's only 4 cars. So as long as we don't DNF like we did at the hill climb, I think we're good.
All right, man. Well, you enjoy yourself, Jerry. Thank you so much for joining us. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
No, everybody was great. Traffic was awesome. And the Div 1 and 2 guys, I'm sure Scar and Luca were cursing me because they were faster than me in a couple of those places. And I kept catching them on the straights, and then I would back off and let them go in the corners. But yeah, everyone was awesome. Thanks for the broadcast, guys.
No worries, Jerry. Thank you so much for joining us there, buddy. And we'll catch up with you soon. Whoa, okay. That hurt my ears. Right, then the last one to bring into the booth is your man, your winner, Wouter de Bruin here, wraps up the win in the Div 3 Pros. Wouter, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
Feeling great. Finally got to win the season.
Yeah, it's been a while, right?
Correct. Last historic season went pretty well for me. At least got a couple wins each season. So I had good hopes with this season, especially as I have been BOP testing, so I knew the cars beforehand. But then I also knew some of the others drivers coming in are pretty fast. So yeah, it took half a season, but now I'm here.
Yeah, now you're there. You know, we're sitting 5th before the beginning of this championship as well. Are we resounded to seeing almost not pushing for the championship because I think you might be a little bit too far away now? Are we seeing a Wouter de Bruin participation medal more than you pushing for the championship?
Yeah, I mean, I already knew before the start of the season I had to miss the first 2 rounds, and there are 2 drop rounds, but it's good the feeling like you're coming from behind. So I'll just try to do the best I can every race, but also have some fun. So shout out to the Wookie Monsters and Smile Power teammates because it's great fun chatting with them around the race. And previous races were a little tough, sometimes frustrating, partly because all the cars had better fuel strategy. So you lost the race because you had to extra pit stop. But this time everything went my way.
Yeah, it did, and you did a stellar job. You know, was having a nice little battle with Tom Lane towards the front of the field there, and Mike Bell was in there, and it was all getting very tight. But you come out as the winner of this one. Are we going to see you next time out?
For sure, I'll do plan to join all the other races, and I think it depends on the track which car has the best characteristics for it. Still, the other cars have a better fuel mileage than the Shelby does, so that is a disadvantage for us. But some tracks we have the speed, so we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah, I do fully agree on that one. So let's see if we can get you out on track for the Nürburgring and see how you do. Don't forget that is a long way away, mind you. That's right the way through to the 5th of October. But thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Well, shout out to Ross for all his hard work, also making these cars, but also as my teammate, he just sending some positive vibes to him as he had to disconnect and it's a bit down right now. He could have had a top 5 otherwise as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you hopefully in the next one.
Yeah, thanks for your work. See you next time.
Worries. Take care. Well, Brad, it's been a very interesting one here. Goodwood, did it deliver, or was it more of a meh?
I think Goodwood delivered. I think it was for lack of a better phrase, a good time. I enjoyed it. I think there was a lot of action. I think it really kind of showed a unique sort of style of racing that we haven't really gotten from these cars, which is just, you know, as we've said, essentially oval with one random left-hander in the middle. And looking at the rest of the season, looking at all the races before, all the races after, we don't really have another race like this. I will tell you, though, I'm a little sad I've got to wait until October to get Nürburgring. I wish we could have that race a little bit sooner, but that's going to be a huge race.
Yeah, I do fully agree. I think that's going to be an amazing one. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to wrap this one up here at what can only be described as a flat-out manic race, and that's exactly what it is. I know Paul in the background is absolutely knackered, so we're going to end it here. I've been James Parfitt. I've been alongside Bradley Dalton. We've had Paul Glover in the production box as well. Thank you to everybody that has joined us. But as always, guys, take care. Have a great week, and you never know, we might see you on the track sometime. Good night.